Nithyanandam. With deep gratitude to my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji, I welcome you all to this next series in Hinduism for Dummies. Many of you all will be wondering, why did I name this as Hinduism for Dummies? Because I was one, especially in relation to Hinduism. I was a complete dummy till before I met my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji. Though I was a practicing Hindu, like I used to do my pujas, rituals, even have maintained few religious fastings. I used to follow all of them, but I never knew the reason why. And we thought nobody else knew the reason why. That was the dumbest part for me. It was not just me not knowing. I assumed that nobody knows the reason why, which is why Hinduism has no reasons and they're just more superstitious following, which for generations we've been following. After I met Swamiji, I understood how dumb I have been, one, by not reading the great Vedic scriptures, the sacred scriptures that our religion, our dharma has handed down from generations and generations and generations. That was the first thing. Second, even if I had read, how much I would have understood and how much I would have been able to apply in my everyday life was a question mark. And all these merged with a single answer with Swamiji's answers and Swamiji's satsangs and living around Swamiji, living in the Bangalore Adinam. That is why when I wanted to do this series about Hinduism, the answers and the why of Hinduism, the science of Hinduism, I thought it was very simple and easy to name it Hinduism for Dummies. After I met my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji, I realized that Hinduism was not just a lifestyle, was not just a superstitious tradition that we've been following, but a complete science. Now, what do you mean by Hinduism being a science? How can idol worship be a science? How come blind faith that if I pray to an idol, my prayers are answered be a science? These are the many questions which I have been able to find answers through Swamiji's satsangs, discourses and Swamiji's very lifestyle itself. He made it very simple. Hinduism is Sanatana Dharma is the only space or the only lifestyle which is able to scientifically prove the space, the energy, both can be transcended beyond time and beyond the limits of human boundaries. It's only in this Sanatana Dharma that all these have been proven again and again without fail by the many Siddhars, the enlightened masters who have lived in this country, and now by the living avatar, His Holiness Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji himself. A Guru has written a very simple question asking, I always thought Hinduism had casteism, and that was something I absolutely did not like and did not understand why the society was divided by castes, and that too why in Hinduism there was such a clear, divisive, negative component when caste system was portrayed. And this was a question that has also bothered me many years, for which I did not have an answer, especially when the other religious followers, be it of a Christian or an Islamic follower, would ask me, but your religion had caste system and it is so demeaning and dehumanizing to the other person. I never had an answer. And in one satsang, Swamiji beautifully said, I am proud of my caste system because it is not as it is portrayed by the Britishers to you people, but it was a system based on the lifestyle. For example, a weaver community. If a weaver wanted his son to be a weaver, it is because he knows the son from his childhood would have seen his father being a weaver. And as he learns from the childhood, he will become an expert as he grows older and older. And when someone is going out in the world to prove himself, he will have the confidence of years of being working as a weaver or a doctor or an actor or anything. It was only based on what profession was being followed at that time. Brahmanism was not just a community, it was how people lived the lifestyle. If I had a yearning for knowledge of soul, for knowledge of the superconsciousness, for knowledge of God, and for the knowledge of who I am, then I am a Brahman, not by birth maybe, but by my thought and by my lifestyle, I become a Brahman. This is what Swami is clearly defined, and this is what many of the scriptures have repeatedly been telling. But unfortunately, what has happened to many of us is, like me, I have studied in a convent, an Anglo-Indian school in Chennai. And from my childhood, I was led to believe India had the worst caste system, and there was something called the untouchables, where even Indians opposed. But take a moment, stop here and think, from when was this caste system propagated with the word untouchables? If you actually remember, my generation, and even people in my probably a little older than me, or 5 years or 10 years older than me, they will remember clearly that their parents, their grandparents, irrespective of caste and creed, would have a good relationship with anybody and everybody based on the humanity of each other, but never on what they did. So where did this hard negative component of caste system come into foreplay? When was it taught to us? It was taught to us by these regressive Britishers. For me, I always found Britishers to be highly regressive and repressive by nature. And our system, our Sanatana Dharma, was all-inclusive and always joyous. It was a lifestyle of celebration. And it was a lifestyle when you celebrate and you're all-inclusive, you can never break the backbone of the culture. So when they wanted to break the backbone of our Indian culture and wanted to rule the economy of our country, they played divide and rule. They pitted man against man. And the only way they thought was possible, and they showed was possible, was creating a caste system. Suppose, like today, we have doctors' communities, lawyers as communities who have their own online forums, offline forums, they have their own clubs, their own communities. They will not allow a non-doctor or non-lawyer into that club or the community. So does that mean there's a caste system prevalent among the lawyers and the doctors? No. It's a simple way that everybody wants to live. This was as simple as that. Unfortunately, complicated, complex, but the regressive, repressive European mind, which we, unfortunately, again, believed without knowing the facts. I hope my understanding of what caste system was, which I shared with you all, has brought you all some clarity into what was the actual existing caste system. Please read our great scriptures, read the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, which gives you great insights into our social setup at that point of time, how the society existed, how people lived with so much of grace and so much of power. You will understand what a great dharma we all used to have. Our country as such used to radiate the science of living enlightenment. The Vedic times were the times when people used to radiate the extraordinary Shaktis. Shaktis, I mean the power of Kundalini awakening, through which every man who lived could radiate one extraordinary power or the other just by his will. It is this science, this lifestyle that my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji, is reviving at this moment, in this age, in this day. If you want to see a common man, a normal human being, expressing any extraordinary Shakti, be it mind over consciousness, or consciousness over matter, or even something as simple as reading blindfold. For us, reading through the third eye is very common, and it is as simple as me talking here now. It is something that every child in our Gurukul does as a very first step towards the lifestyle of enlightenment. To see this extraordinary lifestyle, to experience this extraordinary lifestyle, and to experience the one and only living incarnation, the avatar, His Holiness Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji, I invite you all to be part of our great Sangha, be an Adinavasi to experience the ultimate in your life. See you again soon with the next question. Hope you enjoyed this. And if you enjoyed this and you found this useful, please share it with as many friends as possible, because sharing knowledge is the most powerful way to empower others. Nithyananda.
You guys ready?